Hey, everyone.
We're live.
Welcome to Sports Shorts and More.
Yeah,
I'm Chris.
welcome. I'm Bill.
It's great to have you all out there. And we've got in our audience today, we have Judy. Well, I knew that. I wanted you to say it, though. And we got Michael down there. We got Austin over here. And we got Larry. And last but not least, who do we have? We got Tony.
Yep.
So welcome, everybody.
Thanks for being here.
So we got lots to cover from the weekend.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad we do this on Mondays now. We used to do it on Thursdays, but I feel like after the weekend, it's better just unpack everything on Monday.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
It was a good weekend for sports too.
Why don't we ask the audience, where do you guys want to start? Baseball, football, basketball? Where do you want to start?
I think it was a good yesterday, man. We lost.
You want to talk football first?
That was a good. Man, that was a bad game yesterday.
So what was the score in that game?
I don't know.
Was it 27-3 Bengals and the Ravens?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to ask our Bengals analyst,
Hey, James.
Austin. Austin, what happened? What went wrong in the Bengals game?
Yeah. What wrong that game,
Yeah,
Austin?
what happened?
Well, they tried to play straight up with the Ravens. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. What they should have did was, since the defense is so strong, quit running Maxson up the middle.
Okay, so the Ravens defense was very tough.
That's right.
So when you got a good defense, you can't go right at them.
Right? Not the running back. The running back and the quarterback. Anytime you got a defense so strong as that, you roll out, take the defense this way. You roll out, you take the defense that way. All they would do was drop it straight back. The defense is so explosive, they come straight and got
Yeah.
it. And he couldn't do that, so I said, how come the quarterback should roll out? That makes the defense got to come his way. Opens that whole left side up for them. But they'll get it. They'll see the next time they play. I forget who they play, but they look real good. Everybody had them already as the underdog. But watch. It happened the same way that it happened to the Kansas City Chiefs. They thought the Oakland Raiders was just they could run over them. The Raiders whooped the Chiefs. Just whooped them.
Let's go back to Bengals for a minute, because I think that's some really good analysis that the Ravens defense was just overpowering.
That's right.
And it'd be kind of like if Judy and I squared up to block each other, I have no chance. Judy is bigger, stronger, faster, meaner, tougher than I am. So I can't go right at her. I'm going to have to misdirection and do some things to kind of throw her off balance if I want to have success.
Right.
So that's what you're saying the Bengals should have done. I agree with you.
He's young. He can roll out. So when you roll out, you don't know which way you're going. The safeties can see where he's at, but that's good because it opens up the other side. And then all the other plays, you try to throw off balance, you overthrow them. But that's okay because they're going to make up for it. I already know. I forget who they play next week. I got it right here.
Indianapolis.
You see what happens in that game right there?
Mm-hmm.
They think. That's what they were doing. They were thinking.
Yeah.
And let me see. You know what? I looked at that game and didn't they win it?
The Colts lost. The Browns beat them.
Oh, that's
The Browns beat them. Let me hear from a few other folks. Judy, you got any thoughts on the game yesterday?
Well, why did he get sacked so many times? Who wasn't doing their job?
Well, it goes back to what Austin was saying was when they were facing off well, it's two things. One was physically the Ravens were much stronger, much faster than the Bengals offensive line, but also schematically the Ravens scheme was much better than the Bengals scheme. When you watched a couple times, it's called the A gap, when linebacker blitzes or defensive lineman stunts through the gap to the left or the right of the center, guys were coming unblocked. And you can't have that happen. And that's a schematic thing, where you got to set your blocking coverage. And on the one play, it was very clear. The offensive guard, instead of holding his area of the A gap, he turned to his left to take who was on his left. And guy went right past him to the quarterback. And, my knowledge of football, which only goes back to grade school, basically, when I played offensive line knowledge, was you start at the center and you fan everything out, because the fastest way to get to the quarterback is up the middle,
Yep.
and you always make sure the middle's covered. Nobody doesn't care. I don't care how many people are standing over there. If there's 3 defenders, 2 defenders, everybody has to know who you blocking that's coming through my alley here. And there's just too many times where Ravens were coming through clean.
Why?
And that's a scheme thing.
Yeah, the scheming. Well, okay, it happened and it happened again and it happened again. Well, why didn't they adjust their plan?
Well,
I don't know, just-
it's either one of 2 things. Either they were outcoached, which very well could have happened, or the players were making errors with the schemes. You know, if the coach is telling you've got to block this gap, but you're turning and you're not doing it, that's on the player then. So I don't know if it was on the coaching staff for the scheme, if it was on the players. My guess is the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. It's probably some of both, is my guess. Austin.
The Bengals, I don't know if you was watching, but I was paying attention to it. The Bengals did look good. Their defense was good because Jackson could not run the ball like he was doing with everybody else. They're holding. As a matter of fact, they hold the whole team with 17. That's all I had was 17 points. See, they should have scored something all that time. That's what that defense was doing. Hold them so they could come back. And then I guess when they got to the point where they couldn't score no more, the defense let down. That's how they scored another touchdown. Which made it 27. But they couldn't score no more. But the Bengals played real good. They're gonna get it together. I'm looking at it real good. Real good.
Tony, do you have any thoughts on the game?
I think there were so many fumbles.
You're right. There were a lot of
There were.
fumbles. They
Yes,
got to do a
there
better
were.
job of securing the
A lot of
ball.
fumbles.
You are right about that.
That was bad, wasn't it? What do you fumble think during that game? How many fumbles you talking?
One was returned for a touchdown.
Yeah.
It was.
Larry, did you have any thoughts about the Bengals game yesterday?
Not
No.
hardly. I didn't watch the game.
Well, Larry's our resident baseball
Yep.
man, so we'll turn to Larry when it comes to baseball.
How many fumbles-
Michael, how about you? Nope, Michael doesn't have anything either
No.
for
Yeah,
for
I'm gonna
football.
ask Larry something. Can I ask you something?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Did you, I'm pretty sure they had a playoff game yesterday, didn't they?
Yeah, they played.
We'll talk about baseball in a minute because I bet Larry knows all the scores for me. So we're gonna go to baseball in just a minute. But with football, you mentioned something yesterday. The Raiders beat the Chiefs yesterday, 40-32. What was the biggest upset yesterday? Was it that game? Was it Miami beating San Francisco, or was it some other game?
It was another game.
What other game?
Djokovic, he got whooped all 3 games. Rendell,
Which game?
tennis. It was a championship.
Oh, you're talking about tennis.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking football. For football games, what was the biggest upset in football yesterday? You think it was the Raiders? You think it was Miami, or was it somebody else? I was gonna go with Miami. Miami completely dominated the San Francisco 49ers yesterday.
Just like they look for Don Cornelius. Sure. Was coaching. 17-0.
Fitzpatrick looked like Dan Marino. out
Dan
there.
Marino and the coach of the Dolphins looked like Don Shula, I
Yeah.
guess, and they just dominated the way Shula would have done back in the day.
Did he end the game with a perfect passer rating?
I don't know.
He had a perfect passer rating at the half, and I think that he could.
Did he really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Which is a really weird number. It's 158.3 for some reason.
I will say I thought the coach of Miami's done a really good job. Even though the record didn't show it last year, I thought the coach of Miami really did a good job. And this year they've got a couple wins, and I just think they're trying to grow and develop talent down there, and they got the right coach doing it down there. So I'm with you. I think that was the biggest upset yesterday.
Biggest upset for me yesterday, Dak Prescott.
I know.
Foot.
I know.
Yeah.
I as soon as it went down, I thought, "Oh, poor Bill."
Oh man, who would have
Yeah.
thought that Andy Dalton would have as many game-winning drives at this point in his season as Joe Burrow does?
He plays for Dallas.
It's harsh.
Did they say was it a broken ankle? Was it torn ligaments? Was it dislocated?
Compound fracture with the dislocation. So
Oh.
what that means, compound means that the bone came out through the skin.
Oh.
So it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
I knew it was bad. I saw it, and I knew it was bad, and I couldn't believe how, just as he's laying there on the field, how I don't know if he was in shock or he just was truly that calm about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, Dak Prescott was just, obviously he was torn up inside. You could see the tears when he went off, but when it happened, was just rock solid.
Yeah.
And a very courageous young man
I'm pretty
he
sure I
is.
know how come he was crying. Because they got a backup quarterback that's way sharper than him. Y'all ain't seen that? He know he don't have no job.
Talking about Andy Dalton.
No,
I'm
Dan,
talking about the quarterback that was Cowboys. That's how come he's crying. He ain't gonna get no job back. Just wait till you see who they got for backup. He is smooth and sharp.
unfortunately for Dak, it's a long recovery
But he just
from
can't
that,
do
but
it.
he can, and I feel bad because he was playing off a franchise tag. I don't think he ever got his long-term
He didn't. He's
contract.
year to year.
But somebody, whether it's the Cowboys or somebody else, he will still get paid. I truly believe that.
I think the
He's
Cowboys
that good.
put the franchise tag on him again this
No,
year.
he went back and asked him. That's what he kept doing. He kept going back, asking for the position. They gave it to him. That's how he got in there.
Well, we'll have to see how the rest of the year plays out. But I will say, as far as backup quarterbacks go, Andy Dalton's,
I'd take Andy as a backup quarterback.
in a great role there.
Yeah.
And I even said a week or two
You
ago that I never want to see anything happen to Dak, but if something did, I really truly felt that Andy would go in there and do a really good job. for
Yeah.
them.
It'd be interesting to see Andy with some receivers.
Yep.
Because AJ Green was hurt off and on for his entire career.
Yeah.
The offensive line in Dallas is not something to brag about, but
It's not bad, but it's not. But you're right. I wouldn't go. But it's not what it used to be. That's for sure. And they had, I think, injuries. Tyron Smith and some other folks
Yeah,
have
they
been
have
hurt.
two
The
linemen
center
out for
they
the year.
lost to was all pro and as well. So it's not a great line, but it's not a terrible line.
No, and what the Cowboys have going for them is the fact that they play in the NFC East,
Yep.
which is one of the worst divisions ever in football.
And you got a great running back to help you balance it out.
Absolutely.
So we'll
So
see.
I looked up the injury, and you remember Connor Barwin?
Yes.
He had the same injury.
He
had,
did.
A guy named Alan Hearns. I don't remember Alan Hearns.
Alan Hearns was a wide receiver with Jacksonville and actually was on the Dolphins either last year or 2 years ago.
Okay. Had the same type of injury, too. Both of them were able to come
So
back.
they came back.
Yeah.
And Connor Barwin played probably more than 10 years.
Mhm.
Former UC product.
What you don't want to see is an Alex Smith scenario,
Which, speaking of Alex Smith,
I was really, really happy to see him back in the game.
that was awesome.
That
seeing
was
him get
really
a chance
cool.
to play.
Yeah. Did you ever see the 2-hour-long show about him? What do they call that? On SportsCenter?
I did not. I wanted to because he almost died.
Yeah, it was
He
horrible.
got an
Horrifying.
infection.
Yeah. 17 surgeries
Wow.
on that one leg. It was horrifying.
You know you love what you do if you're willing to take 17 surgeries to try to
Exactly. And
get back.
then do all the rehab to get back.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's going on, Bill?
But not rehab.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
What's his name got hurt, but he wasn't showing it. Cleveland Browns quarterback got hurt, but he wasn't showing it.
Oh yeah. I heard his ribs. He hurt his ribs.
You know what I'm saying?
Tony, any last words on football before we move on?
Tony Romo. What happened to him? Tony Romo, Bill.
I think, what? No, it wasn't Romo. Aikman was calling the game when it happened.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
right.
really busted
You
him
could
up,
tell
too.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It did. Anything else on football from yesterday? Or we hit it all that you can think of. All right.
Were we talking college football ever? Do we talk
We
college football?
we can when it becomes relevant.
I
Because Ohio State's not playing yet, so how's it relevant?
I feel like it's
Oh,
gapped.
actually, wait a minute. I do have a question because I don't know the answer. Who won the Clemson game over the weekend? Clemson played
Clemson clobbered Miami.
Miami
Yeah.
because they were both ranked.
Yeah.
And Clemson I think, is number one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Clemson clobbered them, shut them down.
What's his name?
Texas lost another shootout.
I was gonna say I saw the Texas Oklahoma was like 1,007 to
It was.
1,001.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they made
That
up
was
last
basically
week.
it.
Oklahoma got whooped last week, but they made up for it yesterday.
I don't know how. So talking college football, I don't know how Texas has struggled like they have these last few years compared to what when I say struggle, you're not 10
In the
and
top
2.
10, yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm
because
shocked.
they have so much talent.
I'm shocked by
in
this
state
year.
Texas.
This year really shocked me because I thought they would be in the top 10 easily
Texas is
all year. In fact, Vegas even had them, in the top to make the playoffs.
Did they?
Yeah, but they've just looked horrible. I don't know if it's Tom Herman. I don't know. There's no defense in the SEC. We know that.
Yeah.
There's no defense anywhere in the SEC.
But there's enough football players and athletes coming out of Texas that they
Absolutely.
should be recruiting and getting those guys
Yeah.
and developing them, and they should be better than what they're. To me, Texas should be a top 10 team
Yeah.
every year,
Perennially.
just like Ohio State,
Yeah.
Michigan, the Florida teams, etc. Alabama, let's go. They should be all in that top 10 almost year after year.
Alabama had a tough test this weekend.
Did they end up pulling out?
They did. They scored over 100 points total in the game.
Okay.
Most ever in an SEC game.
Okay. Yeah, I think I flipping channels. The game was tied at one point.
Yeah.
Well, we have a question.
35.
We have a question about it.
This week, bro, all the big top boys gonna play, like Ohio State and everybody, I think it's this week.
Is it this week they
It's
start back?
next week.
Okay.
Next week?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
it'll be good to have them all back playing
Hey,
again.
I'll get what's your name mixed up. By looking, then I'll get, if I'm not looking, I'll get confused. But I got, Kent State mixed up with Penn State.
Oh, there's a big difference between Penn State and Kent State.
Oh, yeah.
One has a few national championships, and the other one probably has a few MAC
I think
championships.
what's they got like a little tiger emblem on their hair, on their helmet.
The Nittany Lions
Yeah.
of Penn State.
But they don't have a logo on their helmet.
Sure.
They've got those white helmets with the blue.
Oh, okay.
At one point, weren't those voted the ugliest uniforms in
Yeah,
college
probably
football?
so, yeah.
When they were like in the all white at one point.
Yeah, those were horrible. Yeah,
So that was a long time
it
ago.
was. So yeah, it's what would you do? So the Big Ten starts play in a week and a half or 2 weeks. What do you do with a 7-0 Ohio State team versus a 10-1 Alabama team?
Oh, that's the game. That's the game. I forgot.
So I mean, I think they should expand the playoffs to be 8 teams instead of
Mhm.
4.
They already voted on that.
Did
this
they already
year.
do that?
Decided not to do it.
Oh, they said they wouldn't
Yeah.
expand it?
Yep,
So I think it's a big mistake.
I do too.
Because you're gonna leave out, I think, some teams that, at the end of the year could be
I agree.
your champion.
Yeah.
Is they gonna be playing, Alabama gonna be playing Georgia?
Yep.
It should be.
Yep.
Is that tomorrow night or?
It's
Saturday?
next Saturday.
Okay.
Alabama goes to Georgia next Saturday.
Okay, well, they ain't played nobody tough yet.
No.
Georgia. They just been crushing people.
Yeah, they crushed Tennessee. They ran away from Tennessee
Oh,
yesterday on the road. It was a nice win.
Well, I guess we've added college football to the
Yeah, we
segment.
did. Yeah, it was a good weekend for college football. A&M came up with a win. Jimbo Fisher got a win finally
Okay.
against. They beat Florida.
LSU got. I don't know. if it was-
They've lost 2. They won
Did they win this
this
past
weekend,
week?
right?
I thought it was this week and they lost 2.
Did they?
Did they
For the
lose to
second
Missouri or was that the week before?
Oh no, that was this weekend. Did you? I watched that game. And Missouri,
Oh, man.
LSU was down 4, had the ball first and goal at the 1-yard line with a minute to go, and went 4 plays and out. Ran the ball twice, couldn't get a yard, and then threw on 3rd and 4th down. And Missouri held them from the 1-yard line.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Well, I'll start paying more attention to college
Yeah, it
football.
was- it
I
was
caught it in
exciting.
passing, so it's just that my
Exciting to watch.
Saturdays are busy, so I don't catch as much on Saturdays.
It was a good Saturday.
Larry, help us out because I have not paid attention very much to baseball since the Reds got knocked out of the playoffs. Who's in the who are the final teams remaining?
Houston.
What you didn't give me play the Los Angeles Chargers.
Well,
The Braves are
Houston and
playing
Tampa, and then the Braves and the Dodgers.
Yep.
Dodgers, and then Tampa and Astros.
Yep.
And who won last night, Houston or Tampa?
Houston.
Houston won. Okay. And the Dodgers and Braves, have they played yet?
No, they're
Okay,
playing
see?
tonight.
All right. So,
So that's gonna be a fun series,
That
the
should be
National League,
fun.
because those
Yeah.
are 2 hitting teams.
yep.
Yes.
They're both
Very good.
really good with the bats.
And
I think they
the
won 7 games last time, didn't they?
I think so. And then Astros and Tampa, they can hit a little bit. They got some good pitchers on both
And
those
I'm
teams.
telling you, with Houston winning last night, the Dodgers want the Astros again.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So the Dodgers are going to give everything they have to Atlanta to get to the
Well,
Astros.
which one got the Chinese pitcher? The Dodgers? I
Mm,
think they do. I ain't sure. I just think they got that Chinese pitcher.
I'm not
I'm
sure.
not sure.
There's I know there's a pitcher from Asia. It was with the Yankees, Tanaka. I don't know about the Dodgers, if they do or not. But it should be a couple of good series. We'll have to see
Yeah,
what
yeah,
happens.
well,
Well, Larry, will you keep an eye on some of that baseball for us for next week? Let us know how they're doing. Okay, I appreciate it.
Mary had a comment in the comment section about football. She said, "Would the Browns beating the Colts be an upset?"
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say probably not. I think the game was, I don't know what the point spread was in the game,
Mhm.
but my guess is it was fairly small spread that it probably would not be considered much of an upset. Now, if the game were in Indianapolis, I think it would have been considered an upset. But the fact that they played in Cleveland, it was probably a very small point spread one way or the other that I don't think would have been considered much of an upset.
I'm going to look at it this way. Phillip Rivers was quarterbacking for the Colts. He is one of the worst luck quarterbacks I've ever seen. He can figure out a way. His team can lose in so many different ways. When he'll have a 450-yard passing game and lose. And
Rivers the one messed the game up. Yes, he did.
Phillip Rivers lost the game for him.
Rivers, the one that used to do the Colts. He the one messed it up. I said, why would he want to do that? Then he had 2 home plays. I thought, well, they were to score. They messed that up. But when I saw the Browns beat the Cowboys, I said, they're getting stronger now. Then I'm seeing them whoop these people yesterday. I said, like, this is the team to whoop. You ain't going to know what you got in that division until Pittsburgh play.
The Browns, they're running like crazy on people. They ran for over 300 yards against the Cowboys.
They got a running back that he just go, he think everything is good, and he just go on punching everybody straight through.
I give the Browns a lot of credit. They've looked good this year.
Pittsburgh.
I'm looking forward to when they play the Steelers,
Yes, right.
and then they get the Ravens again. I think the Ravens beat them up pretty good week 1 in Baltimore, but the Ravens got to go to Cleveland. I think it might be a different story. Be a much better game.
Yep.
Okay, I want y'all to make a note of this. You seen how bad Bengals played the other day.
Yep.
When it comes to Pittsburgh and the Browns again, they're gonna whoop.
Pittsburgh's awfully good.
They put them right there in the contention for either a division spot or a wild card spot.
We'll see. I know Melvin's very optimistic.
He is.
We'll see
I
what
like that.
happens.
I like that.
Well, why don't we take a quick pivot to basketball because
right.
the NBA Finals were last night, and I turned the game on just to check the score, and when I looked, the Lakers were up by like 200 at one point.
I did the
and
same thing.
I was like, okay, well, this is over. I was like, it's not even halftime, and they're up by 30. I was like, wow.
I think the Lakers have put up 75 points in the first half when I turned it on.
Wow.
It was
They had a 28 point lead at half.
was it 20? It was a blowout.
I was keeping an eye on the count because I watched it, and I said, I'm gonna see what kind of pattern you're playing. The pattern is almost similar to the first one, right? But the only difference is they kept turning the ball over, and the Lakers scored. Let me tell you, that's what it was. I said, they ain't got the same pattern. They ain't gonna beat them. That's what I said to them. They ain't gonna beat them. They're making too much mistakes, and plus they capitalize. That makes the score go just like that, and that's exactly what the score did.
Well,
Just like that. I said, they ain't gonna come back. And then the Lakers just laid down a little bit because they know they had it about the clock. Because the final score, they only won by the final score, they only won by 13 points.
I'd like to see them stay in the bubble for another week and have a do-over because I predicted Miami to
You
win.
did. Well,
But then everybody got hurt.
if they were healthy, it'd been a different
And I
story.
want them all to be healthy and
Yeah.
play again because
Did y'all see what
I
happened?
still think Miami could give them a run for the
I
money.
do too. I agree with you.
Did you see what happened when Davis got hurt? His last game.
Yeah, Miami beat them.
Miami took him. Because I said, well, there ain't no team without him. Because he stayed right there to get all rebounds. And when they get the rebounds, he's taking right back in. See what I'm saying? That's what they had advantage of. Height. Now guess who played last night? Day center. And I said, how come he didn't play the other night? His name, I think, is Robert. One with the ponytail. He's a center. He's an alternate center, either forward or center. And all the Taylor, the little small guy, the point guard, the one to make all those fancy shots, he was missing all the kind of layups he would never manage. Even the float, he's missing everything. And the guy that came back with the shoulder, I forget his name, Black dude.
Adebayo.
He kept missing. That's right. He kept missing. They kept taking the ball from him. And that was going their way because the Lakers had the momentum. They really wanted to make it.
I give props to LeBron James. I mean, he looked like a man
Ron,
that was not going to lose. He was going to put that team on his shoulders no matter what.
Yeah.
Ron James made
He and Jimmy Butler in Game 5. It was incredible. Did you watch Game 5?
I did.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. But
Oh, yeah, we all
Can't
know.
go against
So how many
LeBron.
championships is this for LeBron? Anybody know?
4.
no,
4.
That's 4.
It's 4.
4. Yep, 4. That's correct. That's how many he's won.
Got to mention that. That's the first time I ever saw his attitude was like that.
4 or 3 different teams.
Yep, one with the Lakers, one with the Cavs,
Now, you
2 with
Heat.
Miami.
What about Brady?
Well, that's football. We're just talking basketball.
Oh,
So LeBron's inching his way closer to being equivalent to or surpassing Michael Jordan, and which is not an easy. I mean, that's one high bar
Yep,
right there. In my eyes,
Yeah.
Jordan is the greatest player
I agree.
in basketball
and,
history.
and we
I
don't
agree.
we don't pick Jordan just because of his championships, because Bill Russell won 10 championships, right? And Michael Jordan won 6. They went 6-0 in the finals.
Yeah.
But I could see LeBron winning 6 pretty easily.
Oh, he's got a couple more years in him.
He tied somebody's record up last night.
Well, is that no?
Yeah, he tied somebody's record last night. Let's see what I'm thinking about. Cleveland Magic Johnson. It's a word that he come out of Boston. No, that's who he tied. They tied Boston.
Oh, for the most championships by an NBA team.
Did they really? Did LA tie?
Did they tie him or did they move ahead of them by one?
No.
They tied them?
They tied
Okay.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So they caught up and tied Boston for
Wow.
the number of championships.
That's big.
Well, I know on some sad news, we had the passing of Joe Morgan.
Yep.
And
Oh, I didn't hear
yeah, Joe Morgan passed away. I think he was 77 years old.
that.
And
He had a bad nerve disorder.
is that what it was?
I can't pronounce
Yeah.
the word. It's about 10, 11 initial word.
So let me I'm gonna throw a little Joe Morgan trivia at you. Okay, let's see here. Because Joe Morgan was probably one of my top 2 or 3 favorite baseball players of all time. So who knows where in the batting order for the Cincinnati Reds, the Big Red Machine, where did Joe usually bat?
Number 4.
Number 3.
Number 3 is correct. It was Rose,
Oh, dude.
Griffey, Morgan.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
How many MVP awards did he win with the Cincinnati Reds?
Oh,
1.
2.
They got 2.
He
Back
got
to
two.
back.
Back to
75
back.
and 76.
I remember when people think of the Big Red Machine, they usually think Rose and Bench.
yeah.
But Joe Morgan was the one who was the MVP
Yep.
Yeah.
of those 2 seasons.
Those are back-to-back World Series champs, too.
Yep.
Yep.
I think it's when they beat Oakland A's.
The
Was it 62?
72 is when the A's beat the Reds.
Yeah.
But I don't think Joe was with the Reds in 72. Which brings me to my next trivia question, because when they traded
I know.
for Joe Morgan, there were like 8 players involved. I want to see how many players you can think of from both teams that were involved. So we got Joe Morgan along with 4 other players from the Houston Astros, which at one point was the Colt 45s.
Yeah.
I think they became the Astros.
They were the
after.
Astros, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Reds gave up Lee May, who was a 2-time All-Star,
Yes.
Tommy Helms, who was a 2-time All-Star and a Gold Glove second baseman, and a very popular utility man with the last name Stewart. Those are the 3 guys we traded. We got 5 guys in return. Besides Joe Morgan, can you name any of the players that we got in return in that trade? We're going back a ways. A little trivia history.
Was it 73?
It was
72?
73.
Okay.
I think it was 73.
Well, what's your name? Still the owner?
Was it Concepcion?
Mark.
It was then, and that was before her time, and it was not Concepcion. He came up in the Red system.
Geronimo?
Cesar Geronimo, that is one of the players. So we got
Very
Joe
nice.
Morgan, Cesar Geronimo.
And Anderson.
What about Foster?
No, Foster came from the Giants.
Okay.
There was a pitcher that we got.
Gullet?
Wasn't Gallett. It was a right-handed pitcher. And he's got a long name that began with the letter B.
Oh.
And his last name rhymes with a former Red named Herm Willingham. But this guy's name was Jack.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Billingham.
Jack Billingham. Very good, Judy.
That is impressive.
That was 3 of them. 2 more guys. The one player, and Larry, you'll remember this. Okay, in the 75 World Series, which was one of the greatest World Series of all time,
Yep.
there was a guy for the Reds who was pinch hitting, and he put down a bunt, and there was catcher's interference on the play. Who was that Red? Do you remember? No, it wasn't Pete Rose. This was a guy off the bench. This is what he's famous for in Reds history, was the catcher's interference play, which helped to win one of the games for the Reds in that series. His name was Ed Armbruster.
Wow.
So I'm throwing.
Do you remember all this?
I do remember
That's
this.
impressive.
I do remember this. So he was the fourth guy, and it was a huge play in the World Series when it
So
happened.
what's catcher's interference?
So I believe he went to lay down a bunt to move a guy over on the base path. And, typically you lay down a bunt, you're going to get thrown out at first. Well, he laid down the bunt. The catcher, Carl LaFisk, jumped up so quick to get the ball that I can't visually remember
He
it.
touched the bat?
But
No,
he
interfered.
interfered or bumped into
Yes,
Armbruster.
the runner.
And so they called catcher's interference and gave Armbruster first base. So there were no outs on the play.
Wow.
So it gave the Reds an extra out in the inning and moved the runner over. And I don't know, with your Zoom skills, you might be able to call up the Ed Armbruster bunt
Probably,
fly.
yeah, we can probably watch
And
that.
then the last guy was Dennis Mankey, who was a reserve player through those teams. But the Reds got 5 players, Joe Morgan being the top one out of that big trade, which everybody at the time said it was the worst trade in like the Reds' history. Well, Frank Robinson was the worst trade. That was like the
Yes.
next worst trade.
That was the
Little
worst
did they
trade.
know they just had to wait,
3 or 4 years.
a little bit of time,
Yeah.
and Geronimo and Billingham and Morgan would all be key pieces
Oh, yes.
to 2 championships.
I met Joe Morgan one time at a game. He was doing color for John Miller. John Miller was doing play-by-play,
I like John.
and I wanted to meet John Miller, and so I went to the press box and hung out until after the game and talked to him for a little bit. And Joe Morgan was there, very nice guy.
That's what it's interesting you say it because that's what I'll tell you ever heard in Cincinnati was how nice of a guy Joe Morgan was. Always has that big smile going. But when the trade came out, and I just read this today when I was reading up about the trade, one of the reasons that they felt people were against the trade was because they felt Joe Morgan was very difficult to get along with.
Mm-hmm.
And I never would have thought that about it.
Turned out not to be that way.
Yeah, which it may if he did happen to be that way, maybe it was a change of scenery, or maybe it was just somebody's perspective was way off base. But thank goodness the Reds got him for all those years.
Yeah.
I think two other little things on Joe Morgan. First, what I was going to ask was, who remembers what number Joe Morgan wore for the Reds?
Number 8.
Number 8. That is correct. And the second thing I was going to ask was, what was and I've never seen another player do this.
Yep.
What's the thing he did at bat that was so unique? Flap of the arm.
Yep.
He batted left and he had the arm flapping.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a player do that. When I was a kid in Little League, I used to emulate it. I was like, oh, I want to be like Joe. And I'd flap the arm in Little League every once in a
That's
while.
fantastic.
And do you know why he did that?
No, why did he do that?
Because when he was learning how to play ball, his trainer would tell him, keep your arm up, He would do that to remind himself
To keep the arm up?
because he hit better when his arm was up than he did.
Okay.
When he down low, he didn't hit as well. So he did that to keep his arm up.
But
he
that's-
was telling him.
And he was it's interesting with hitting and fielding with Joe Morgan, the two dichotomies. One was he had like the smallest glove in the league. And he said I think he liked it because he wanted to be able to feel the ball and get it because he was a gold glove second baseman.
Yeah.
But I think people talked. I believe he had one of the smaller gloves in the league, if I remember right. But then he also had one of the heavier bats in the league.
Yes.
And everybody, thought of, Joe was probably what you remember, 5'8" maybe,
Yeah, it's a little
and 170 pounds.
Yeah.
But he would swing a big, heavy bat.
32 ounce.
I think it was even more than that. We'd have to look it up and see. But I just remember as a kid trying to, of course, I was emulating Joe with this. I was like, I went for the biggest bat in the rack. I was like, okay, I can barely move this thing through the strike zone. But he carried a big old bat that
Yeah.
clearly he knew how to swing.
Oh, yeah.
Is he the best second baseman of his generation?
Yeah.
I think so. I think it'd be hard pressed to find of his
His
generation.
generation, he was the best second baseman.
Yeah, I think so
Definitely.
too.
Oh, yeah.
Melvin?
I think the Reds was having like a little problem too. Don't you remember he was playing the game? And the guy got a base hit. And the way he came back to the base, he took a left and came back. And then he called it out. And he was talking like, wait a minute, it's a certain way when you get a hit, you got to turn a certain way to come back to that base.
Yeah.
I think it's to the right.
Yeah, you got to turn off to the right.
Yeah.
But Joe, when he'd get a hit, he'd make a big old round to first because he was thinking double every time.
Oh, yes.
And then he'd scoot back quick to the base if he needed to.
I think he's
But-
still in the top 10 on all-time steals. He may be out of the top 10 now, but
One time he
very
was.
close. Yeah.
And he was up there too in walks as well for a long time. Do we have anything in the chat?
Yeah, Mary said, in the winter meetings in Phoenix on November 29, 1971, the Reds acquired Joe Morgan, Ed Armbrister, Jack Bellingham, Cesar Geronimo, and Dennis Menke from the Astros for Lee May, Tommy Helms, and Jimmy Stewart.
Okay, so 71.
Yep.
Jimmy Stewart. How do they not remember Jimmy?
Right.
I knew the last name was Stewart. How
Thinking
can
the
they not
same
remember Jimmy?
And she said, thank you to Google for providing information. So thank you, Mary.
Yep. Thank
Jimmy
you for,
Stewart.
for fact checking us. That's
Mhm.
good.
Yeah, it's a little scary to be fact checked.
Yeah, in this day and age.
Yeah,
We just like to ramble sometimes.
exactly. Yeah.
We do come back with corrections, though.
Yeah, we have done that in the past. Yes, that's
Because
true.
again, we're not professionals at this.
No, we're not.
We're just trying to have some fun.
Rank amateurs.
Or we'd be unranked amateurs.
We could be towards the bottom.
Well, I was thinking about. I didn't have time to get one of the wonderful creeds of John Wooden, but I'm going a different route today. I was flipping channels and came across the Karate Kid, and I think we've had this conversation before.
The original Karate Kid.
The original Karate, the original
Yeah,
Karate
yeah.
Kid,
The original
Which
Karate
one?
Kid.
and all the life lessons that are in there. So
Yeah.
I'm going to pull a life lesson
All right.
from
Okay.
that
Yeah.
Mr. Miyagi taught. That was the word balance, and that you
Yes.
have to have when you have balance in your life, good things are going to happen for
Yes.
you. It's when life is out of balance that you have a hard time dealing with the challenges that come at you. So
I heard that
Very
Wednesday
true.
at my therapy appointment.
balance.
Truthfully, yeah,
Did you?
yeah, gotta have balance.
Yeah,
And,
you have to have.
I think yeah.
That there is balance in nature. Nature has balance.
What's up, Bill?
Science has balance. And when your life is out of balance, it's going to make a huge difference.
That's exactly right.
I agree. Tony, you agree? You think you have to have balance in your life?
Oh, when I'm to Tom Brady.
I don't know. I know he lost the other day in
He
his
did
game.
lose. That was a tough
Maybe
one.
maybe life was out of balance for Tom that day. I don't know.
Tom Brady thought he had 5 downs to play with.
That's true. I did
Yes.
see that. Yeah. But I don't know. I just it's so simple, but yet so meaningful.
Difficult to maintain.
And I think not only does it apply to individuals, I'll take it even further that I think it applies to just communities and even the political world that we're in. That you don't want everything to be all the way to the left or all the way to the right. When you think about when this country is at its best, it's when we're usually in balance. And I hope folks maybe kind of remember that too during the political seasons. That I think a country in balance is when it's at its best.
You use
Well, that's what I was talking about, Chris. I said, strange thing I saw was Brady, because you ain't never seen him get real mad. But I'm saying he got mad this week with his players. That was the offense. He was talking real mean. He got so upset that he forgot his down.
Yeah, but he got out of balance.
Because he was coming like,
He thought he had another down to play with. You're right. In that picture, you can see him like holding up. It's 4th down now.
But Mel was referring to earlier in the game. He lit into a couple of people.
yes, because that offense wasn't doing it.
They weren't blocking guys.
He kept getting slammed down. He looked for somebody to help him get up. He was hurt. I can tell you. That's the second time they got him. And he was talking to the offense. You sound like y'all gotta protect me. But yeah, that's the first time I seen him with an attitude like that, and it seemed like it cost him the game too.
Yeah.
Because he swept down and he was getting ready to go until he got down. But that was a fourth down right there,
Yeah.
you know.
You talk about staying in your lane, right?
Mhm.
For whether it's an organization or a person. And I think it's been tough to stay in your lane for the past 7 months for a lot of us because our routines have been completely turned topsy-turvy.
Upside down.
Yeah.
So trying to create a new balance has been a kind of a full-time job for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You're right. With this pandemic,
Yeah. it's
we've
thrown
all been knocked
everything
off balance.
We've been off balance for the last
Yeah.
7 months.
And I think that, to get through it, that's one thing. I mean, I readjusted my balance to so I could, best handle what was going on in the world, with the pandemic. And I think everybody just has to try to find
This is terrible.
what it is that's going to work for them to keep their life in balance.
This pandemic is terrible.
You're right about that, Tony.
Right.
Hopefully
You're right
we're
about
we're
that.
getting on the back end of it. Hopefully at some point
Oh,
here.
it's terrible.
Hopefully they get a vaccine soon, and we can get back to how life used to be.
Yeah.
I know we were going to talk football movies, but I have to cut out a few minutes early today. So we're going to maybe ask that we save your favorite football movie for next week. Would that be okay?
Sounds good.
That work for everybody? All right. Well, I appreciate everybody being a part of the group today,
You guys were
It's great to
awesome.
see
Thank
y'all.
you very much.
and look forward to seeing everybody next Monday.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, everybody.